Ooh, under the Formosa tree. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the law of attraction. I had a well, we all have the law of attraction. We're all doing it all the time. You hear people say things like, "If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all." Bang, and then they have all these. Well, they're doing it just not the way they would really want to do it. The more you think of positive things, the more positive things will come. Um, I had several examples I've done of law of attraction before I even knew about the law of attraction. At one time, my late husband at the time had this book where you could buy all these wild birds like ducks, geese, pheasants, peacocks, and so I really thought it would be cool to have a peacock. But then you get to reading about it, and there's just so much, things you have to do. And then there's the cost, which is probably the worst part of it. Um, and so I just put that away from my thought. It wasn't a very strong thought anyway. It was just a thought, passing thought. And it actually wasn't until, I don't know, maybe even 6 or 7 years later, I heard a strange sounding bird. I thought, what is that? Well, I for days, or I think it was about a week, and finally, I I, I was walking down the path, and I heard a strong, loud honk noise. And then one day I walked out of the trailer, and I saw a peacock with this peahen. Unbeknownst to me, people behind this property bought the peacocks, so I was able to have the peacock without ever having to have to worry about, feeding it, where it goes, He, sadly enough, I think the peahen got eaten by some wild animal, but he, and I named him Oscar, he kept coming around here for the longest time. And now other people own him, and you never see him because he was getting into everything, so they had to sort of put him away. But um, yeah, for the longest time, people would know me as a peacock lady because, of course, there's a highway off where I live, and he would always be in the front yard doing up his feathers and everything. And I could walk by, my son could walk by. He was used to us. He didn't mind us. He chased all the other birds away when I fed the birds. But that's just one story. There was another story back in October I think it was in 2018, where there was a cat. We have cats around here all the time. Having under the trailer, they give birth to them. Well, there was a mother cat who gave birth to this batch of kittens, and always thought, and I would always picture in my head. I have a wild imagination. Sometimes I even picture stories walking around, um, and I was just picturing, getting one of the kittens and keeping it. And it was, I think, in October 2020. It was about 5:30 in the morning. I heard something at the door. I opened the door, and in walks this tiny kitten about 6 or 7 weeks old. Of course, not from that litter. It was from another litter. And by the way, she's still here. So we adopted her, and yeah, so I attracted her there. And this is a bizarre story. One time, I think it was back in, I'm going to say it was May of 2017. I was listening to one of these law of attraction things by that time. And I and I wish I would remember because it worked so well. Um, Almost in a way that makes the hair on the back of your neck stick out. There was, I don't even remember who said it, but they were talking about writing some, down and everything. And this was to like get what you wanted within like 24 hours or something like that. And I was thinking, oh, okay, can't hurt to try it. So I didn't have anyone at the time, so I was just saying, writing down, and I know there was other things you're supposed to do, and I don't remember what it was. If someone remembers, hey, let me know. Um, and I remember writing down about a guy comes to my door and he asked me out on a date. Okay, so the next morning, and I just put it aside because I really didn't think it was going to happen anyway, right? Or maybe a part of me did. I just didn't really care, I guess, one way or the other. If it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't. And it's in a lot of those cases where things seem to happen the most, right? Like the peacock and the kitten. Um, okay, so it was about 5:30, between 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning. I used to get up that time. And yeah, I heard a knock at the door, and I thought, and I heard a car out there running, so I thought maybe somebody was having car trouble. So, and it was still dark at that time, so I couldn't see who it was. I opened the door and probably shouldn't have. They have stories like where people do that kind of thing, and blah. But I did, and this guy, I know, and we have steps up, and he wasn't on the steps; he was down below, so felt a little safer there, was distant. He said, "Can I have a drink of water?" And I'm thinking, "Oh my God, right?" Because he's got his car running and everything, like he could just take me and run off with me. And I'm like, "Oh, I don't have any water." Of course, he's probably thinking, "Of course she has water, right?" Then he asked if he could borrow my phone. I said, "No, I don't. Not for the phone." And then he pops a question that really got me. He said, "Would you go out with me on a date?" And I thought, "Oh my God, this is the instance I called this to me." And so, yeah, I know not to do that anymore, or to be more specific when I do that. And a couple of more stories I have. This is after my fiance and I got to know each other, my late fiance. Um, we always used to Skype. We would talk to each other like 5, 7, 8 hours while he was going on the road, and I would be going with him. And I was just going to try one of these things, like Neville Goddard kind of technique where you see it at the end. And as he went into a truck stop one time, I was saying to myself, and picturing it being to the end, that when he came back, he would be singing, "I love you, Rebecca," and something like he wouldn't do, right? As soon as he opened the door, he was singing that, and that made the hairs stand on the back of my neck too, but in a good way, of course. Yeah, and of course there's other little ones where I would try to see if he didn't think we would get to a certain stop at a time, but we wanted to. I would be picturing it and it would happen, even though there was so much traffic because he was in England, in London, going through those areas, and at the heavy traffic time of 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, anyway, just a few of my stories. I'm hoping for a lot more. I'm right now uh, trying to produce a house. I shouldn't say trying because that's probably why it's never coming. But yeah, so over and out.